Someone.
Yeah, well, and it's very interesting just going back over this. And Laura Ingraham called him out several times on misrepresentations or lies. But you just look this week, and again, so much is thrown at us. It is so important that people look and take a tally just this week, right? Donald Trump still lying about the 2020 election, still saying that it was stolen from him. He now has J.D. Vance lying, saying it was stolen from him. You have U.S. senators, Republican United States senators, refusing to say that Donald Trump lost on Sunday's show. So there's a 2020 election lie that he continues this week. There's also, of course, the lie about the hurricanes, saying that they're doing a terrible job on the hurricanes when you have the Republican governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, saying they're doing a really good job. You have the South Carolina governor, McMaster, he's a conservative guy, saying, yeah, they're doing a good job. They're staying in touch.
Roy Cooper is on the show.
Roy Cooper, a Democrat, but you have Tom Tillis, the senator from that state, saying that they're working really well with the federal government. You have the governor of Tennessee, a conservative guy, saying, yeah, we're coordinating very well. And he even said this disinformation that's coming from the Trump campaign also may be coming from our foreign enemies who are trying to do what they did in past elections and sow distrust. So you have that lie. And then, of course, you've got the dogs and cats, seeding dogs and cats. That lie, of course, called out by the Republican governor, who was a two-term Republican senator up in Ohio. But even what Donald Trump said about why he wouldn't do 60 Minutes last night.
Unbelievable.
What did he say? First of all, he was angry about the fact check.
Yeah.
And of course, as I've said before, I love when people fact check me. I love, you can disagree with me on things, that's fine. But if I have a fact wrong, I want to be fact checked. And he and J.D. Vance, very angry about getting fact checked, which tells you all you need to know about all the lies that they're telling. Then he demanded an apology from Leslie Stahl for something that never happened 4 years ago. So you have that. And finally, I just think he's gotten to a point where he skipped the debate that Kamala Harris said I'll do on Fox News.
Happy to do it.
He skipped the 60 Minutes interview, and it just has to lead you, which I was thinking last night, what is going on here? He needs to get out of that bubble. Why is he not out of the bubble? And I just think in his gut, he knows he may not be up to it anymore.
Yeah,
especially that's my best guess. Because,
side by side with her.
Right.
I think that he's uncomfortable on a number of levels. I'm not going to get mean about it.
Somebody 20 years younger than him. I mean, that's best guess. But we don't
presidential candidates have appeared on 60 Minutes in October before Election Day since 1968. Except for Donald Trump. And here is part of the explanation that Scott Pelley gave last night as to why Donald Trump dropped out of the appearance.
It's been a tradition for more than half a century that the major party candidates for president sit down with 60 Minutes in October. In 1968, it was Richard Nixon and Hubert Humphrey. This year, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump accepted our invitation. But unfortunately, last week, Trump canceled. The campaign offered shifting explanations. First, it complained that we would fact-check the interview. We fact-check every story. Later, Trump said he needed an apology for his interview in 2020. Trump claims correspondent Leslie Stahl said in that interview that Hunter Biden's controversial laptop came from Russia. She never said that. Trump has said his opponent doesn't do interviews because she can't handle them. He had previously declined another debate with Harris, so tonight may have been the largest audience for the candidates between now and Election Day.
All right, Claire McCaskill, I'm going to let you take this one. What do you make of first of all, the way Scott Pelley had to explain what happened between the campaign and 60 Minutes and Trump not being a no-show on 60 Minutes?
Yeah, let's set aside whether or not you think Trump is a worthless liar and a jerk and not a redeemable human being. Let's just put that over to the side. And let's be honest about the Donald Trump of today versus the Donald Trump of 2016 and the decline that has occurred. Does anyone believe that Donald Trump in 2016 would be turning down debates and turning down appearances on 60 Minutes? No, he wouldn't. He has lost confidence in his own ability. Clearly, this guy, I mean, you can call it cowardice. It is. You can say he's a big scaredy cat. He is. But it all comes down to his insecurity that he is no longer capable of being judged side by side with Kamala Harris. He doesn't want that comparison. He knows he is not doing well when they are side by side. And he also knows that he's having difficulty always staying on topic, and his wanderings and all of the cognitive problems you're seeing with Donald Trump. He knows it. He may not be admitting it even to himself. But that's why they're coming up with all these bogus excuses, why he won't debate, why he won't appear on 60 Minutes, why he only goes to places that he knows will protect him from himself.
Yeah, Trump hasn't sat for any sort of adversarial interview in months upon months. And certainly Kamala Harris got the best of him in their debate. He's taken it to social this morning, criticizing her appearance on 60 Minutes. We'll spare you the nonsense he said. But, Mike, I want to pick up on what Claire said. It's not just about him being afraid of that contrast with Harris. He clearly is. But it is, just from a political point of view, a missed opportunity. There are only 4 weeks to go. We know that he's campaigning only in friendly confines, both in interviews and rallies. And yes, this is going to be a turnout election. It's about driving out your base. But there is still a slim sliver of undecided voters who are going to matter in this election. The only way to reach them, for the most part, are moments like this, set pieces. Well, he's skipping a second debate. He skipped this interview last night. It is, and just in terms of raw politics, you need votes, and he missed a chance to court some.
You're talking rationally, though.
I do that from time to time. It's a problem.
You're talking rationally about what a candidate would do to seek those missing voters, to seek them out, to focus on them. We're not talking about a rational human being here in Donald Trump. We're talking about a guy who sees people who need help, and he views it as, how can this help me? I want to help myself through their suffering. He wakes up nearly every day like a missile seeking damage. He's seeking to do damage. He's done damage in Springfield, Ohio. He's doing damage down south during the hurricane, specifically for North Carolina. And that's who he is. And to Claire's point about his, he's lost his fastball if he ever had one. He certainly has. You can see that and you can hear that. Your ear can hear that in his ramblings. But I think the biggest thing that has frightened him and further damaged him is the specter of being on a stage or being contrasted, even though they're not next to each other, every single day against a woman, a black woman.
Much younger.
Yeah, but a young, attractive black woman. And I think that drives him even crazier than he already is.
Well, and of course, he can say what he wants about her. He has. He's talking about how she's mentally, incapacitated from birth or something like that. And yet,
she seemed pretty good in that interview.
In 2014, he contributed to her campaign, said some nice things about her.
Right.
And so I do think it's the contrast. And I will say, I don't even think it's quite as much about her being black, her being a woman. I think it's the age disparity. Because this entire campaign for 2 years has been built around Donald Trump being the younger of the two candidates. He may have been 78, but Joe Biden was 80, 81, had slowed down significantly. And that was the contrast he liked.
Yeah.
I remember, and in politics, so much of it is just like this, right? So I'm watching a football game right after Kamala Harris gets into the race, and they show a split screen. And I went like that. Kamala Harris, 59, Donald Trump, 78. And you could really see the difference there. And I
absolutely agree with you.
I think he doesn't want the split screen. And I think that's why he's afraid to be seen in a debate on Fox News or an interview on 60 Minutes.
And I'll add to that. I definitely think that's part of it because he's all about the look and the feel of it all and the brand. But I also think, just having known him over the years, us both, that he is still trying to get over the trauma of standing on a debate stage with her and having her name military leaders, economic experts, and literally turning to him and they say you are a disgrace, right to his face.
Right.
And I think that's just, hearing that truth about not just his policies, but the way he's behaved over the years in front of millions of people, hearing the truth is impossible for him. Well, he can't do it again.
And again, Jonathan Lemire, you followed Donald Trump for a very long time. And I will go back, for those who haven't heard it, 28 times, go back to say that if you read what Dr. Brzezinski always said about the Soviet Union, he said they can't beat the United States head on. The United States is superior economically, it's superior militarily, it's superior politically, it's superior culturally, in every way it's superior. So the old Soviet Union, they had to be disruptors. They had to play by different rules. They couldn't beat us head on, so they had to disrupt. And we see it describes exactly what Vladimir Putin's doing. And domestically, you can say Donald Trump has always been a disruptor. Yeah. You put him on the stage with 16 Republicans in 2016, and they were all kind of looking like this. Every one of them looked foolish. They didn't know how to respond to the disruptor. Joe Biden, a creature of Washington since 29, a creature of Washington who played by the Marquess of Queensberry rules. Always thrown off, always anguished by this disruptor who didn't play by the rules. Donald Trump is now the victim of disruption, of political disruption. They changed the candidate on him. He thinks they changed the rules on him. He planned for this, and his feet are still in cement. He's never figured out how to get those feet out of cement, because it was the Democrats this time who were the disruptors against Donald Trump. First time that's ever happened to him in politics, in business, in media, in tabloid wars, you name it.